You're still watching The Conversation on Lagos Television, and this morning our first conversation from this side of the set is going to be on politics. And then where exactly are we going this morning? Rivers State. It was shocking for everybody, especially the major gladiators of Rivers State on Friday when the Supreme Court ruled that the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Accountant General of the Federation must halt the release of funds to the Rivers State government until the Rivers State House of Assembly is properly constituted in line with the 1999 Constitution. The Apex Court also affirmed the Martin Amewele-led Rivers House of Assembly as valid lawmakers. Since this judgment came out on Friday, we have had different reactions, one from the Wike side and the other one from the governor of Rivers State, Similayi Fubara. And yesterday, he did instruct that local government chairmen should hand over the administration of local governments to heads of administration in the 23 local government areas of Rivers State. We are not competent to interpret the law. We have somebody who knows it all when it comes to interpretation of the law. We have with us this morning, Liberos Oshoma is a lawyer and public affairs analyst. It's our pleasure to have you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So give us the professional breakdown of that Supreme Court judgment of Friday. The basic that we know is the fact that the local government election that was conducted in Rivers State was declared null and void, and the Accountant General and the CBN have been instructed not to release funds to Rivers State. So give us the professional breakdown of that Supreme Court judgment of Friday and its implication.
There are twin cases here. One is on the conduct of the local government election, and then the second one is on what do you call it now, the budget implementations and the position of the State House of Assembly and vis-a-vis budget passage. And so on the first one that you asked, by virtue of the provisions of the Electoral Act, it states clearly that electoral register shall be displayed 90 days
before the election.
And what the Supreme Court is saying now is that that is the foundation upon which every election is laid, and that failure to do that is fatal to any subsequent thing you put on that election process, and that you can't put something on nothing and expect it to stand. And because that is it's like the sacrament that establishes a relationship between the voters and the electoral umpire for claims and objections. So if the register is displayed, people can interrogate that register. Is your name on the register? Who are the voters? What numbers? And then, the challenge most times is, these people will say, how many people they comply with all these things for local government elections safe. INEC, you would usually display electoral register for national election, but for local government elections, these things are hardly done. And then there was also a back and forth between INEC and the state electoral umpire, because they usually, resort to INEC register. The states don't have register, and so some parties went to court and said failure to comply with those provisions that INEC should not release the electoral register to the state electoral body. But they still went ahead, and some persons said, INEC does not have business. The Federal High Court does not have business determining matters that have to do with INEC and all of that. And so a state, the state's judiciary almost like an appendage of the governor, and another state's judiciary judge will say, go ahead and conduct the election without a display of voters register. And so that was what led all of these matters to Supreme Court. And getting to the Supreme Court said it is like a jurisdictional issue for election. Just like you say, if a court lacks jurisdiction, every other thing that rests on it falls. So that in this case, for election matters, failure to display the electoral register is fatal. So therefore, that election conducted amounts to a nullity. And also, since the law has been amended, and the Supreme Court also has interpreted that the local government offices, local government officers cannot be removed from office. The local government office cannot accommodate what do you call it, ad hoc arrangement. And a failure to comply with that is also failure to comply with the Supreme Court judgment last year in, I think, June or July.
About local government autonomy.
About local government autonomy by virtue of Section 7 of the 1999 Constitution. So it was on that ground that the Supreme Court, you know, as a consequential order, directed that the Auditor General of the Accountant General of the Federation and CBN should no longer release funds to the local government because there are the local government is not duly constituted. Then, on the other hand, was the issue of the membership that you talked about.
27 of them.
27 of them. Consistently, some of us have maintained that Section 109, subsection 1, paragraph G is not self-executory. And that you can't say that because the section says once you defect, you lose your seat. And that so once a member defects, automatically you just push the person out, whether there is a pronouncement to that effect or not. Because if you look at subsection 2 of that section 109, it says the speaker shall give effect to this section, provided that the speaker has gathered enough evidence to establish the fact that truly this member has defected. But the court also had gone further to say, in a situation where the speaker is also part of those that defected, like you remember in the case of Tambuwa, it is the court that can give effect to that section. Even where the speaker has given effect to that section, somebody can still challenge that act in court, and the court can rule on it one way or the other. But in this case, when there is no pronouncement, until the court makes a pronouncement to that effect, even if you are challenging that declaration, until the court makes a pronouncement to that effect one way or the other, you shall continue to recognize those members as lawmakers. But in the case of Rivers, let me quickly take, I know there's no time, let me quickly take us through the trajectory so that people will understand. After the quagmire, you had Edison Ehie on one side, leading. Edison Ehie was suspended by the Amehule-led faction. Edison Ehie now convey about, 5 other members, and sat and suspended
the 27 of them.
27 lawmakers, and now pronounced himself as the speaker. Immediately, the media started calling him speaker, factional speaker, you know, and all of that. So after he was addressed as factional speaker, he subsequently went ahead to say he has declared the seat for the 27 lawmakers vacant, and the matter went to court. While the matter was in court, the question was, who is the speaker as at that time? Can 5 members be greater than 27? That's a big question. So it is logic. But nobody wanted to hear whether the 27 lawmakers or who
because of politics.
Because of politics. So at the end of the day, the president waded in. Matters were in court, the president waded in. The Fubara faction withdrew their defense at the Federal High Court. But despite the fact that the matter was still in court, the Amehule-led faction that filed the case did not withdraw theirs. But Fubara-led faction withdrew. And the court of the Federal High Court, the first one was the State High Court said that their seat had been declared vacant. And when the matter went on appeal, the Court of Appeal said the State High Court lacks jurisdiction to even determine the tenure of members of State House of Assembly or parliamentarians at all. That's the Federal High Court that is cloaked with jurisdiction. So that matter ought not to have come in the first place. The matter at the Federal High Court, the court subsequently gave judgment that in the absence of a defense, the prayers of the lawmakers, the Amehule-led factions lawmaker, were sustained. Fubara went to Court of Appeal and subsequently went to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, and mind you, there was another matter. In fact, as I speak to you, there are up to about 30 cases.
A lot of litigations when it comes to the politics of Rivers.
The challenge here is that they have lawyers, a team of lawyers, almost 20 senior advocates. They were filing and upon filing because there's money to be made. In all of this, it is not free. So as much as they file, fees will be paid. Rather than, withdraw all of these cases and just pursue only the case of defection at the Federal High Court. At the Federal High Court, the judge said, well, since this matters, or most of these issues have been submitted before a higher court, I can't sit down here and begin to determine what if the court ruled one way or the other. And so the Supreme Court now ruled to say, look, until a court makes a pronouncement on their seats that you cannot resort to self-help and say you will not recognize them as lawmakers. And that is a joke taken too far. And that is a slap on democracy and an aberration in a democratic setting. So the thing now is the court has recognized them, and that also, contrary to the provisions of Section 91, that says that every House of Assembly shall have at least 25 members and not more than 40, that you have 3 members and you say they are your lawmakers.
That's the Chejumbo-led
yes, and that you send a budget in the morning, and by contrary to the tradition of budget defense, in the afternoon that budget is returned to you as passed. 80 billion, 1.2 trillion. And, so at this stage, the court also went further to say that the fear that he was going to be impeached and then subsequently went ahead to demolish the State House of Assembly was also a slap and executive rascality. And so that's basically the narrative of all of
Because of our time, according to what I've been reading since Friday, and of course I know Mr. Governor addressed the people of Rivers State yesterday. Tell me if this is all about sentiment, because some people who are loyal to the governor, they are saying that the judgment did not address the defection of these lawmakers. And here is the judgment saying that the 27 lawmakers have been recognized as lawmakers of Rivers State House of Assembly. So speak to that defection aspect of the judgment. And I wouldn't know if you have seen the certified true copy of that judgment of the Supreme Court. Then the implication on all of these on the politics of Rivers State and the fate of the governor.
Let me answer it in our everyday understanding, so that the average, ordinary person will understand. They say person thief. The penalty for stealing is 2 years imprisonment. The law says pending the pronouncement of the court that you are a thief, go to jail. That person is granted bail, is presumed innocent. The penalty for murder is death. Even if I catch somebody killing now, the law says you must charge him to court. Until the court makes a pronouncement and say you are guilty of murder, the consequence is death. The man will be alive. I cannot take a knife and say, yes, because I saw him, I will kill him. Otherwise, I will be charged for murder. So in this case, the law says if you defect, you lose your seat. Until a court now look at the ingredients of defection and say, has defection truly taken place here? Irrespective of what I think, what your sentiments are, the court will still look at it. Okay, has it defected? Has it joined another party? Yes, you have defected. So the provisions of section 109 subsection 1 paragraph G is hereby activated. You can't say, oh, no, you can't say that there's crisis in your party, because the Supreme Court has said the crisis must be crisis at the national level of the party, not at the local government, not the one orchestrated by you. So it is the court that will look at all of this and say, there's defection here, or there is no defection here. Until that is done, that member still remains a member. You can't say, because I'm the governor, I won't recognize you, I won't pay your salary. Because that will be a resort to anarchy, resort to self-help. In Edo, they tried it. You had only 7 members, and then the man delayed the matter till he left office. Now you go to Rivers. In Rivers, there was a time 5 members led by Evans BP during Amechi's time tried to impeach 27. You remember? That didn't succeed. In Edo, they tried it. And now in Rivers, you have 3 members. They have taken it on a abysmally low level. If it is in Lagos, in a house of 40, one man is saying he's speaker over 4, and that he remains speaker because he's supported by the president.
We cannot prove that.
I can prove it. I can prove it. Because the police, the barrage of police that followed that man and the way the DSS has been harassing the rest members, if he does not have the backing of the leader of the party in Lagos, who is Mr. President, he won't do all of those things.
Okay, let's come back to Rivers.
So, in Rivers, now you have the governor recognizing 3 members and passing budgets as if it's a piece of paper. Take, bring back to me. A memo. Even memos are not treated that way. If you allow it, tomorrow somebody can come, he will say he's the speaker, he's the only person. Once it's recognized by a governor, he's the speaker, he's the member, he will approve everything. And then lawyers will begin to quote law for you. So that is why the Supreme Court, in his wisdom, is saying, no, allow the court to deal with these issues. And if the court now makes a pronouncement to say, these 37 lawmakers have defected, we hereby declare their seats vacant. INEC, there's a consequential order. INEC, conduct election within the next 14 days so that the state will not be deprived of the business of lawmaking. There must be consequential order. If you also remember, in 1982, in the case of Benson Alegbe, Speaker Bender State House of Assembly, and Honorable Loyal, that when you absent yourself from the sitting of the House for 180 days, that the Speaker shall declare, for unknown just cause, the Speaker shall declare your seat vacant. So the Speaker declared the seat of Honorable Oloyo vacant. Oloyo went to court. Until the matter was determined, he was still sitting as a member of the State House of Assembly. And
getting all the entitlements.
So until the court says, no, you are no more a member, because unjust cause had to be proven. So in this case, defection had to be established.
Before you can declare their seat vacant.
Before you can declare their seat vacant. I can say they addressed a press conference and they said they are no more members. For me, that is alone, that is enough. But the court can ask for that question to say, okay, please, let's see the register of members. Let's see resignation letters. Let's see register of this other party where they applied to join and they have been, their name is now on the register of this. You know, the court will go further than that, than what I will just take. That is why in subsection 2, when the Constitution says you shall gather evidence, it is not a child's play. So we're having these problems because the same people that tell you let's build strong institutions instead of stronger men are the same people, senior lawyers, are the same people that are encouraging stronger men by filing multiple cases in court. Justice Kayode Esho once said, when allegation of bribery, there's an allegation of bribery against a judge, there's a senior advocate who's a conveyor belt. And so, and when all of these things happen, some of them come on air and begin to stand the law upside his head. And then those who are called to the restaurant, those who are called to Buka becomes lawyer, and they begin to interpret the law. And say, oh, this person said that, this person said that. And then people who do not know their left from their right will now be lambasted the Supreme Court, say, oh, this judge had been bought. That is why they interpreted the law this way. They are not consistent. Meanwhile, on the issue of defection, the court had consistently maintained that if you defect, you lose your seat, provided you can establish defection. And also, it is the court that will make that pronouncement.
All right. You said something earlier that there is nothing like sentiment when it comes to the application of the law and the Constitution. So what then will become of the politics of Rivers State in terms of development, in terms of governance with this judgment? Because part of what was broadcast yesterday, there was a particular section where the governor said he does not agree with the judgment of the Supreme Court, that members of his team, they are still studying the judgment. And from what I know so far, I'm not a lawyer, I know that the Supreme Court is the final when it comes to issues as regards courts in Nigeria. So him saying that he does not agree with the judgment, that members of his team are still studying the the judgment and they're waiting to get the certified true copy. What's the implication of all of that? Or was that just a political statement?
They never agree when it's against them, even if it is the law. Because he had never agreed from one day. You know, let me quickly digress, sorry. The challenge here is, I might not like Wike. In fact, I don't like him. Because if it is Wike, he will do the same thing. He will not allow anybody to muzzle him. But here we're talking about the law. We're talking about the law. So the people, when Wike hold this Fubara inside government house, when the FCC were looking for him, and those people who were shouting, bring him out, let him face justice, are the ones supporting him to continue in illegality today. The same people who did not want him to even become governor are those who all of a sudden remember that it's our son. And when things like this happen, you have an attorney general, like I said in another platform, if I were Fubara today, if I start Friday, I will sack the attorney general for misadvising you. Because you don't have to agree with the law. We say Dura less, said less. The law is strict, but it is the law. It is not all the law that I agree with. But that is the position of the law. I don't have a choice in the matter. So you don't have to agree. You don't have to like anybody's face. You were both elected. You were all elected. You don't have to like their faces. But you tolerate them. That's why they say in politics it's about interest. I might not like you, but it's a common interest. So you tolerate them. You don't have to like them. What is difficult in presenting a budget to them? And now you continued in illegality. You're scared that you might be impeached, and then you started committing impeachable offenses.
He did it in 2024, he did it in 2025.
And then you now went to court to say, anyway, it was, for me, it was an arrogance taken too far. A slap on the court to say, well, the 2024 budget, we have spent the money anyway, so we are withdrawing this case so that it doesn't become an academic exercise. So it was like, do whatever you like.
I've done what I've done.
I've done what I've done. I don't care. And so now you say, I don't agree with the judgment, but our lawyers are studying. Studying what? Studying what? What are you studying? The court was loud and clear. So your lawyers now will tell you, haven't you seen cases where Supreme Court will give a judgment? Some lawyers will go and file another suit in court to interpret the judgment of the Supreme Court because they just want to create multiplicity of suits so that they will warehouse the matter and not obey the court and tell you, and then their supporters will be telling you the matter is in court. Because you have democracy without Democrats. They pretend to be Democrat, but they are all not Democrats. If we are saying, yes, let's practice democracy, it's a give and take thing. Including Wike, he's not a Democrat. All of them, they are not Democrats. So, but today, the law favors him. He will thank God. They have so ridiculed God. They've so ridiculed God that sometimes you are scared.
The Thanksgiving on Friday.
That's what I'm telling you. That sometimes you are even wondering that, is this God still there? The way our Nigerian politicians ridicule God? Oh, thank God, oh God, and then, oh, beauty for democracy. If the judgment had gone the other way, it is Rivers that will be doing Thanksgiving. And these other ones will be condemning that they have spent money to buy the
and that the Supreme Court is biased.
Yeah, the Supreme Court is biased. So that's where we need a reorientation. And then the funniest part is the people who are supposed to be in opposition, that's you and I, will be supporting one against the other. These people are not quarreling. Tomorrow you'll be shocked that they will all settle. Didn't you see Oshomole and
Wike and Fubara?
Yes. Didn't you see Oshomole and Philip Shaibu? Philip Shaibu went to sit down. Oh, it's my father. You know, children. And after he was kicked out of government house by his supposed older brother. Oh, I miss my governor and you know all of those.
Okay, so in all of this now, what does this portend for the politics of Rivers State?
It is the people that
there are insinuations now that the governor might be impeached.
Look, let me
because
tell you,
those 27 lawmakers now, they have the advantage of numbers.
That this is the best time for the governor to allow reasoning, wisdom, wise counsel to prevail. Oh, my brother, so we are all one. Nobody, like he said, we all make mistake. So how do we move forward? You know, wisdom. But if you insist and you go ahead, now that they have the Supreme Court, the final court has said, look, these people are the valid lawmaker. They form more than 2/3 majority of the House. So, and you have demolished the House of Assembly place, because the Supreme Court also
and they committed illegality by presenting that 2024 budget as well.
So, and the Supreme Court in Peter Obi's case has ruled that the business of the House must be conducted in the place designated. Now that you have destroyed it. So now what it means is that anywhere the Speaker puts his mace becomes the House. So they can go and rent a hall, sit there.
Or sit inside Wike's house.
Sit inside Wike's house, like they were sitting in Amechi's hall in Government House before. Sit there, put a mace there, and move for impeachment, a motion for impeachment. And then, if they do that and they succeed, the next thing APC will tell you, go to court. This is their slogan. So, that's why at this stage, you should allow reasoning and wise counsel to prevail. The court has said, go present the budget, recognize them, present the budget to them. Why you begin to fight, your battle of whether they have defected or not. So once you do that, you'll be few inches taller. That will be politics. You would have taken the sail off, and then you make sure, because impeachment by the provisions of Section 188 cannot be complete without the three arms of government agreeing. So in this case, if there is impeachment against the governor, he must also, in the agreement must be that he must also present a defense. The chief judge must set up a panel of 7 people of integrity who are non-partisan, and they must review the allegation, and then the governor also must make presentation. Before, if the panel now says, yes, allegation has been established here, then the matter can now be debated, and by 2/3 majority, Otilo.
And common sense will tell you that the 27 will easily make the 2/3.
But will the chief judge set up the panel? There is nothing in Section 188 that says that. It says the chief judge shall within 14 days. What if he fails to set up a panel? There's nothing in the Constitution that gives the House of Assembly the veto power to set up a panel on their own, because, like I said, the three arms of government must work together.
So Fubara can also hold the lawmakers by their jugular.
Don't hold the lawmaker. You can, after all, they are accusing each other of buying judgment. So you can make sure that the chief judge refused to set a panel. I'm giving him advice now.
Okay,
but work with them, and he would. There won't be any all this fear of impeachment in the first place.
If he's willing to work with them, and their godfather is saying something else, what then becomes of the governor?
Their godfather, what you have is a sharing formula. They all share. It's our commonwealth. What you have is a sharing formula, positions, and how they will share, and how they will, that's the working together. And the godfather is the dawn of Ihendeba, a little here, a little there. And so give to Caesar what's for Caesar, and give to God.
Those are your words.
I am not asking him to go but have an understanding. In politics, a give and take thing, I've consistently said. Like they say, every gambler knows that the secret to survive is knowing what to throw away and knowing what to keep. And you don't count your money when you're still at the table. There'll be enough time for that. So this is not the time to begin to say, no, I want to corner all to myself. Now your godfather is also a governor of Abuja. And so he has largesse also to give, and he has a war chest, and he has pitched tents with those people he once criticized, those people he once called cancer. Now he's very happy. He has left headache. He's now with cancer. And so he's very happy there because they have accommodated him, and so he can sustain this fight and make sure. No, even the PDP that we are talking about, if the people have left PDP for you, how come you couldn't even produce one local government chairman of PDP? You have to move your men to another party. So that means those people still own PDP.
So, but in all of this, like you rightly said, it is not about the people. It is about the political gains of the political gladiators. But will Fubara hit the humble pie?
I am not Fubara. I don't know, but I can only advise him to say, look, eat the humble pie and create, because otherwise it's the reverse people that will suffer. They already complain about multiple taxes. They will have to, because if the absence of funds,
it will tax them more.
It will tax them more. And we operate a feeding bottle system of government where everybody runs to Abuja to collect something. So now, the court has said, Abuja, don't share for this man. Don't give him food, don't even give him fish until he complies with what we have said. Are you going to starve to death? Are you Lagos that you can say, okay, look, we muzzle people to pay taxes? You know, and the issues here are different. So if you find, I like the fact also that he has said, well, let's see how that one goes, because I need to study that judgment on the local government, where he has said, let the local government chairman hand over to the senior officers in it. That ordinarily, what would still have happened would have happened if you had allowed the register, delay the process, publish the register, and then wait for the 90 days and then conduct election. Your men will still have swept the polls, because that's what happens. You know, that's what happens. So now, boxing yourself into a corner with this and then giving them an opportunity. Don't give them another opportunity, because these people have been there before you.
And they know the game.
And they know the game. Probably even know it more than you. You are just in the process now. And they say the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so those people who are Wike's enemy might pitch tent with you. But how connected are they at the center and even at the state? You know, so that's why you have to sit down in the comfort of your room. You and Wike, you were friends before the battle. The table is still there. You can still sit down. And that's why I had us always said also, Wike and Fubara and the president can resolve this matter. Just three of them.
Liberals,
they don't need a third party.
We have to go. We must thank you very much, Liberals Oshoma, lawyer, public affairs analyst, for coming to give us the interpretation to that Supreme Court judgment of Friday on Rivers State local government election, as well as the Martin Amewele led assembly. The Supreme Court actually gave recognition to these 27 members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. And everything that has been said here today are the opinions of Liberals Oshoma.
Yes,
we thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. They are my opinion, and I am very proud to say them.
All right. We'll take a very short break. When we come back, Adebimpe and Joy will also be engaging you on something contentious. That's the leadership tussle in the Lagos State House of Assembly. It's another drama entirely here in Lagos, and then people are beginning to question if indeed Lagos is still the center of excellence. That will be after this break.
The views expressed on this program do not represent that of the producer, management of Lagos Television, or the Lagos State Government. They remain the perspectives of those expressing them. Thank you for staying with Lagos Television.